What this voltmeter does, voltmeter, as you can see here, it will be connected in parallel to the segment of the circuit across which you want to find out or you want to calculate the potential difference. So this reading of V is nothing but VA minus VB, because the current is flowing from A to B. So that's why VA is higher than VB. Current flows from higher potential to lower potential, or when current flows, the potential decreases. Right? Why potential decreases? Because it has to overcome some resistance or opposition offered by a conductor. In order to do that, it loses some energy. That is nothing but loss in potential. Right? So obviously VA will be greater than VB, and VA minus VB will be shown by this potential, or this voltmeter device called voltmeter. So if we see here, what does it do? This voltmeter is connected between these 2 points. So if this point is A, this point is B, V will be actually showing VA minus VB or VB minus VA. That is the difference of potential of points A and B. Right? Okay, so we can take A, B, or whatever point we want. So suppose these points are, or let us take in some sequence. Let these points be A, B, and C. So this will give us difference between VB and VC, right? So this point is A. So between A and B, there will be a potential drop. So potential drop between VA and VB will be something which we should know. And between this A and C, again there will be a potential drop because the current will pass through this 16 ohm resistance. Right? Okay, now if we see this, it is again a symmetrical circuit. The things which we have discussed earlier, it is a symmetrical circuit. There is 4 4 diagonally opposite, 16 16 diagonally opposite. So it is a you can say symmetrical, but not exactly, or not the way we have seen earlier, where the symmetry used to be there has to be a line of symmetry. So now this parallel axis cannot be the axis of symmetry. That means if I draw a line along the, or parallel to the current carrying, or the direction of current, this line is not the axis of symmetry. This is an axis, but it is not symmetry, because if you fold along this, 16 will be on top of 4. So that is not a line of symmetry, right? Okay, something else is given in this question, that the current which flows in this is 1 ampere. That means what? The current which flows in this section, that will be also 1 ampere, because total it is 2 amperes, right? So when this 1 ampere, right, this 1 ampere flows through this 4 ohms, the drop here will be equals to minus 4 volts. Same way, when this point will come here, and there will be a drop of minus 16 volts. Now suppose it started with some X volts, right, or say 100 volts. So there is a drop of 4 volts, so that means here it is 96 volts, and here it will be 100 minus 96, that is 84 volts. So now what is the difference between these two? Difference between these two is 96 minus 84, 96 minus 84 volts, or that is equals to 12 volts, right? So that is the answer. That is the difference between these 2 points is 12 volts. And we have arbitrarily chosen this 100 volt. You choose anything else. Suppose I choose X. So what will be the voltage here? It will be X minus 4. And what will be voltage here? It will be X minus 16. So again, what do we have to do? We have to do X minus 4 minus X minus 16. So that will be X minus X gone, minus 4 plus 16, or 12 volts, right? Or you have minus 4 and you have 16 minus 16. You subtract these two, again you will get 12 volts. So these are different ways in which you can solve, and in all this process we saw that our answer is same. Always we get 12 volts. Okay, let's solve another question. So here there are some resistors in different segments, and the values of those resistors are, this is 10 ohms, 10 ohms, 10 ohms, this is also 10 ohms, this one is 20 ohms. So now we have to find its equivalent resistance, that is between, say, this point X and this point Y. So we have to find R X Y, that is total resistance between point X and Y. This is what we have to find or calculate. So again, it is not easily given that which two resistors are in series or which two resistors are in parallel. So we will have to rewrite or redesign this circuit. So between X and Y, when we travel from X and Y, what all points we see? We see from X, this can be said as X, and this is a junction. This junction, let this junction be A, and then we have another junction, let this junction be B, and this is anyways Y, because between this point and this point there is no resistor being shown, but this is the junction, so let that junction be Y. So when we start from X, what do we see? We have two paths. One path goes like this, another path is like this, right? And here on both the path, so this I come to A, and the resistor here is 10 ohms. And then through the second path, when I travel, again there is a resistance of 10 ohms, and I reach this point through after 10, which is the junction. Junction is B. So this is the junction. And between A and B, there is a resistor between A and B. And how much is that? That is 20 ohms. Then from B, you have one path going to X, and from A, you have another, sorry, from B to Y, there is a 10 ohm resistance, and from A to Y also there is a 10 ohm resistance. So from A to Y and B to Y. There are these two resistors. Suppose this point is Y. So B2Y and A2Y both are 10 ohms. So now we have to find the resistance of this, the equivalent resistance of this. Now this is a special case. This is a special case of something called Wheatstone bridge. We'll discuss this Wheatstone bridge now, and based on that, this question can be answered. So what is a Wheatstone bridge? Wheatstone bridge is actually this. It is a network like this, where you have 4 arms and there are resistors in these 4 arms, right? It is actually in a kite shape, and this will be connected to a supply of EMF. Right, this is the supply EMF, so current will flow like this. Okay, and even these two ends are connected, right? So the current comes here, some current will obviously go in this, let that be I1. Then the current in this segment will be the, suppose if the outer current or external current is I, then this will be I minus I1 current here, right? There is a galvanometer attached here. What does galvanometer do? What is the purpose of galvanometer? So a galvanometer detects the presence of current in a circuit. Right? So that is the work of galvanometer. Now, obviously, this now it depends whether this current is more or the current in the above section is more. So let this be P or say A, B, C, and D. So now it depends. If current in section AD is more than current in section AB, then current will flow from D to B. Otherwise, it will flow from B to D. Right? Now, in this, we have, as you can see here, either it will flow from B to D or D to B. So it doesn't matter. We take any one of them as our direction of current IG. So IG is the current through galvanometer. If our calculations are wrong, we'll get the value of IG is negative as negative. So that means our assumed direction was wrong. It has to be reversed, right? So now suppose the IG comes here. What will happen here? In this, now there will be I minus I1 and IG. So they will be added. So I minus I1 plus IG, right? So these two currents will get added and it will come into the current from BD and current from AD will get added and that will come into DC. Now what will happen here from B to C? From B to C now, the current which was coming to B junction B was I1, and from that IG has left. So, or IG has gone. So that means the current here is I1 minus IG. So now these two sections, that is I1 minus IG and I minus I1 plus IG, they will get added up here. So what you will get actually, see, I1 minus IG plus I minus I1 plus IG. And what is this equal to? This is again equal to I. So the current here will be I. So whatever current has left the cell, the same current has come to the cell again. This is the way to find out or way to verify that whatever current distribution we have done is correct. Now such arrangement is called Wheatstone bridge, right? This arrangement is called Wheatstone bridge. Now there are four resistors here. Let us say that they are P, Q, R, and S. And the EMF of cell, let that be equals to E, right? So that is the Wheatstone bridge. Now we have studied two laws. One was Kirchhoff's loop law, and the second law was, one was Kirchhoff's junction law, right? That is also called current law, and the voltage law, that is called the loop law, loop or voltage, and this is called junction or current law, right? Till now in this particular circuit, we have applied the junction law or the junction rule. That is, whatever current comes at a point, the same current will leave the point, leave that junction. So total incoming current in a junction will be equals to total outgoing current in a junction. Through that, what we do, through that we do the division of current. So division of current is over. Next point or next task is to apply the Kirchhoff's loop law or the voltage rule, and then get some equations between the resistance and the current and the voltage. So what does that mean? It's simple. Loop law is like this. I think we have already discussed it, but still. Suppose this is a loop, is what? Loop is a closed path. So it is a closed path. If I start from say A to B to C to D and come back to A, so that is actually a closed path. So from where I start, I should come back to that. So if I have to represent loop, I must write it like this. The starting point and the end point must be same. That is a loop. Now in this loop, what do we actually want to achieve is, suppose you start from a point and you move in the direction of current and you come back to the original point. So this is the loop, right? Current, this is actually the direction of current, right? So here what we say is that when you are, this is a sign convention, again it can be anything as per, you can even change this sign convention, but when you change one part of the sign conventions, you have to change the entire sign conventions. So what I follow is that when I start in the direction of current, if I encounter a resistor, if there is a resistor, then there will be a drop in voltage. So this I take as the core or the main guiding factor of working on the in the loop. So suppose here this EMF of this is suppose E, then there this is R1, this is R2. Obviously the current in both is I and I. So I start with E, that is positive. Then what came in my path? It is R1 which came in my path, and the current flowing through that is I. The potential drop will be I R1, and it will be a drop because I am moving in the direction of current. So that's why I'll write it as negative. Then again, what comes in my path? It is IR2. Again, that is a drop. So it will be this. So E was my starting source. So that is positive, and I am going in the direction of current. So ultimately, E was my gain. IR1 and IR2 were my losses or voltage drop, and this total should be equals to 0. So that is how this voltage, applying voltage rule or the loop rule will give us some equations. So second part of this Wheatstone bridge or any such network or solving such network is that first part was to apply or to distribute the current. Second part is to identify the loops and then apply the loop rule or the voltage rule in all those loops. Loops means closed path. For the time being, this is the simplest of the, or this is the simplest application or the simplest scenario of applying voltage rule. We will see more complex scenarios when there are multiple cells in a loop. Right now, we limit ourselves to a single cell network, right? Or that loop in which there is a single cell, right? So now this Wheatstone bridge is also like that. We have different loops. What all loops you have? You have a loop, this one. This is a loop. Then this is a loop. So there are two loops. And you also have another loop here. And this is actually two loop. One starts taking the upper path, that is ABC, or you take the path ABC to complete this outer loop, right? So there are multiple loops. My interest is, I think just two will be sufficient for me, that is A, B, D, A, one loop, and second loop will be, let us start from B, then go to C, then D, and then again B. So as you can see, when I'm writing the loop, don't miss this first and the last, that is start and the end must be same, right? So now based on these, now we'll have to apply this rule on the two loops. So let us apply that. So that is the first one. What we are doing now is we are applying Kirchhoff's loop rule or voltage rule. So the first loop is, I think, AB, D, and back to A. Now in the segment AB, there was a current I1, and that I1 was going through a resistor P, right? So I1P is the loss, this one, I1 and P. So this will be the loss because we are going in that direction from A to B. So that is loss. So let's write it as negative. Then again, we are moving in the direction of current, that is IG. And suppose galvanometer's resistance is given as G. So G is the resistance of the galvanometer. So that will be again minus Ig into G. Now if we see, if I'm moving from D to A, the direction is against the direction of current. So if I'm moving towards in the direction of current, I have taken as negative. So that means here I'll have to take it as positive, because this is, and it is under, I mean, it is easy to even It is justified. Why? Because the current, if the current is flowing from A to B, that means A is at higher potential and D is at lower potential. So if I'm moving from D to A, the potential will increase. I am going from lower potential to higher potential, right? So while going from D to A, the resistor is R and the current is I minus I1. So I minus I1 into R, and this is equals to 0. This is my first equation. And you can see here that this is plus. The last one is plus or positive. Okay. Do we have some other loop? That is loop B, C, D, B, I guess, right? So the loop BC, B to C, has current I1 minus IG, and the resistance is Q. So I1 minus IG into Q. So I1 minus IG into Q. Then again, if I'm now coming in the direction C to D, I'm going against the direction of current, and the resistor there is S. So S into I minus I1 plus IG. So plus S into I minus I1 plus IG. That is the current in that. And again, when I'm moving from say D to B, I will be going against the current IG, right? So that will be IG into G. So that is plus Ig into G. So that is equals to 0. So these are the two equations which I can form. This is your equations to analyze this or to process this network called Wheatstone bridge. Again, no need to remember this. We don't have to by heart this equation. Just the process is enough for us, how we came to this. Now, in examination, there will be, you have P, Q, RS. The unknowns are I1, I, and IG, and P, Q, RS, and G. So out of these, only two unknowns will be there, which we can solve using these two equations. Right? Now, the thing which we have to study is called, or is the next thing which we have to study is called balanced Wheatstone bridge. So name itself says it is a Wheatstone bridge. Apart from that, there is a condition. That is, it is a balanced Wheatstone bridge. So what does that balanced Wheatstone bridge means? So it is a situation, balanced Wheatstone bridge is a situation of the network or network in which Ig is equals to 0. That is, no current through galvanometer. This is something which you will be doing in your practical labs. So there won't be any current through the galvanometer. So how do we do that? There will be some variable resistance in one of the sections. You will be varying that resistance, and by there will be a point when you are changing the resistance, there will be a point when the current through the section BD will be 0, which can be shown by the galvanometer. So when galvanometer does not show any deflection, that means there is no current through that section. So if there is no current through that section, it doesn't matter what is the value of G, your Ig will be 0. Right? So the equations in the balanced Wheatstone bridge situation, the equations will now change. What will these equations become? So the equations, what do we have to do? We have just to put Ig value is equals to 0. So we get minus I1P plus I minus I1 into R equals to 0. And the second equation will be minus I1 into Q. I'm just substituting Ig is equals to 0. So minus I1 into Q, right, plus I minus I1 into S is equals to 0. So from these two, what do we get? We get I1P is equals to I minus I1 R, and I1Q is equals to I minus I1 S. So what do we see here is that there these coefficients are same, I1, I minus I1, and both the equations have same. So this is the simplified equation 3 and simplified equation 4. And if we divide, that is dividing these two equations, what do we get? We get P by Q is equals to R by S, or this also means that P by R is equals to Q by S. So this is the final result, which is very simple, not as complex as our earlier equations. So this is the situation or the condition. This is called actually condition for balanced Wheatstone bridge. These are the conditions for balanced Wheatstone bridge. Right? Now, what does it mean? PQ, and what was PQRS? Let us see that as well. So this bridge was like that, like this. This was P, this was Q, this was R, and this was S. So what do we have? Either this ratio, that is PQ ratio, is equals to RS ratio, or PR ratio is equals to QS ratio. And whenever that happens, that circuit is a balanced Wheatstone bridge. I think it is clear now what is balanced Wheatstone bridge. Now see the question which we have left, right? The question was having 10 ohms of resistance. Here, if you see this section is having 10 ohms, 10 ohms, 10 ohms, and 10 ohms. So these are this was 10 ohms, this was 10 ohms, this was 10 ohms, and this was 10 ohms. So 10 by 10 is equals to 10 by 10. This is a balanced Wheatstone bridge situation. So if that is the situation, that means there is no current going through the 20 ohm resistance BA. That means B and A are at same potential. So there is no current going, then that means there is no division of current. So whatever current is going from X to B, the same current will go from B to Y. So it is like this, X to B, B to Y. And then the second section, X to A and A to Y. That means this pen and this pen, they are in series, and this pen and this pen, they are also in series. So that means total 20 there and total 20 here. Now these 20 are in parallel. So the total resistance of this parallel will be how much? Will be 10 ohms, because 20 and 20 are in parallel. So 1 by 20 plus 1 by 20 is 2 by 20, and 20 by 2 is equals to 10. So that's how we use the concept of Wheatstone bridge to solve or to find out the equivalent resistance in some